Welcome back to today's lecture on planning and managing scope within the Project Management Professional certification. And very specifically, this is a extremely important lecture. Why is that? It's about scope. Think about how many times you've been on projects whereby scope has never ever stopped increasing. It just increases and increases and increases. And this is what we're trying to stop. And in today's, we're going to find tools and techniques that's going to help us control and manage scope better. So what we're looking at, deliverables and tools. So requirements documentation, extremely important to have as a key deliverable. Work performance reports, if you have them, make sure you have them available because someone's going to be asking for them if you have them or if you don't have them. And it's a critical thing to have these reports ready within the PMP. And requirements traceability matrix, that's our good old favorite that we'll be showing you and why it's so critical within the PMP. And also some of the tools that we can use are some estimation techniques, backlogs, chain requests, product backlogs, and a whole bunch of other cool stuff. So sit back, get a pen and paper ready, and let's get into it. Scope management plan. Write in the comments down below if you know what a scope management plan is. So it's a component of the project or program management plan that describes how the scope will be defined, developed, monitored, and controlled and validated. So it's a cool little plan that helps you really decipher and understand the phases and the steps that you're going to take, so you can, see the scope, manage the scope, break up the scope, and understand how you want to control it and monitor it from there. So it's a really good thing to have in play. If you don't have this, well, think about how you could benefit from having a scope management plan in place that can help you really decipher what's going on and taking things forward. Now, here's an example of a scope management plan. You can see in the picture here, title, date, development statement actually, structure, WBS dictionary, deliverables. So it's a whole bunch of stuff here. Now, it might be the case that you might want to take some of these, you might want to mix and match. It really depends on company to company. I've seen some companies whereby they have a scope management plan and some that really don't really care. Some of them have it and some of them don't have it. But the main thing is that you have a controlled process in creating one, so you can cover your backside. That's the best way I can put it. Scope management tools and techniques. So obviously you can apply some expert judgment. You might do some analysis, and you might also conduct meetings. So whichever way you can, albeit this is the PMP, so you might do other things in there as well. But these are some recognized tools and techniques for you developing a scope management plan. Project requirements, write in the comments down below what you think project requirements are, and let's see if you're correct. So if you pause the video, and then you can restart the video when you write it down. So the actions, processes, and other conditions that the project needs to meet, exact milestone dates, contractual obligations, and constraints. Gosh, you got to love constraints. So requirements are really important. If you don't manage your requirements elicitation process correctly, you might get into a lot of difficulty. So be very careful when you're doing this. Product requirements. Now this is really important because if your product requirements and your project requirements, there's a difference here. The product requirements are agreed upon conditions or capabilities of a product service outcome that the project is designed to satisfy. So it's slightly different. So the project is different and the product requirements are different as well. And so they're high-level requirements, might be documented in a project charter. It's a good place to include them in there. Verify that all the requirements are determined and documented, and they provide the foundation for building the work breakdown structure. Project scope. If you know the definition, write it down in the comments. If you don't, listen to the video. The work performed to deliver a product, service, or result within the specified features and functions. Project scope may include product scope as well. So it's a larger encompassing base here, and you might include the project scope. You might include features in here and all that good stuff. Product scope. This is where you might want to include features. So sorry about that, maybe not in the project scope, but definitely in the product scope. Features and functions that characterize a product, service, or result. Might have user stories in there, might have some epics in there, You might have some code of accounts in there, larger ones, but it really depends on how you want to decipher this. Project and product scope. Predictive, so the scope baseline, there's 3 baselines. So scope baseline is one of them, is that it's approved version of the project scope statement and the WBS and associated WBS dictionary. So in the predictive way, you want to get it approved quickly. In the agile way, you want to work iteratively and you want to work incrementally. And you want to measure the completion of the project scope against the project management, project management scope. So it measures completion of the product scope against the product requirements. So this is you just tracking to make sure everything's working according to plan and everything's moving smoothly. Tolerances, extremely, extremely important. Now, tolerance levels help you decipher if there's an escalation required or if it's still within your control. Now, areas of tolerances might include the cost, timelines of the project, and also if the tolerances of the quality of the product that are getting produced are acceptable or not acceptable. The last thing you want is an iPhone which has scratches everywhere delivered to your door, or you buy it from the app. So that's the last thing you want to do. So make sure it's within tolerances and you know what those tolerances definitions are. Enterprise environmental factors. One of our favorite old friends are back, EEFFs. Conditions are internal, external, not under the control of the project team that influence, constrain, or direct the project organizer, program, or project level. So these are an important definition to know, and you do get a lot of questions on this within the PMP exam. And OPAs, organization, process, assets, plans, processes, and policies and procedures, knowledge bases. So anything within the organization that helps you get the stuff done. So this can be the project management office, human resource documents, policies, procedures, all that good stuff. EEFs and OPAs, projects exist and operate in environments that may influence them favorably or unfavorably. Look at your environmental factors, because some companies' policies and procedures can actually be detrimental for a project that's ongoing. So just be careful on this and make sure you read the policies and procedures of your current company. And there are 2 major categories within projects. They influence the project greatly. In fact, stakeholders do know policies and procedures within the company, and they might negatively or positively impact your project. They can be internal or they can be external. Internally, policies, procedures, structures, the governance mechanism, it can be distributed, how the company is distributed. Externally, marketplace conditions, legal conditions by the government, university, academia, research, breakthroughs, financial considerations, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So just be aware of this. And organizational process assets, this is where you typically might want to consider the project management office. Processes, policies, technically to be considered here. Knowledge bases, if you've got wikis, if you've got internal resource, like where you can share documents, SharePoint, all that good stuff. These are considered knowledge bases, I would say. Document analysis, another definition for us to memorize. A technique used to gain project requirements from the current documentation evaluation. Nothing more to be said on that. Document analysis, derive new project requirements from existing documents such as, you might want to review existing documents that the company has. So think about it, if you're conducting a new project, executing a new project, you might have past projects that the company has conducted which is similar to the current one. If that is the case, it is in your best interest to go and look at these other documents and see how is this document closely related. Because if it's closely related, why not use the past learnings? Why not use the lessons learned in those other documents and use it in this current form? So it is extremely, extremely important that you understand that those documents are available. You can get access to them. For the PMO, Project Management Office, you might have other project managers within the company that you can develop a relationship and ask them. Now, quick story. I've worked in many, many companies whereby I've seen project managers hesitant and resistant to sharing knowledge. This isn't a good thing. Number one, project managers should be helping each other. They should be working together to decide to drive a very strong process, procedure, policies, ways of working, so projects can increase their success rate within organizations. The last thing we want is people that are hesitant, people that feel uncomfortable sharing documents. This does not create the culture we're looking for or the environment where projects can thrive and be successful in. So use document analysis wisely, use it a lot, and learn from past mistakes. This is what we're trying to say here. Use the information, the knowledge gained by others, and input it within your current project plans and your future plans. This will help you be more successful and actually helps you stop reinventing the wheel, which is something that we've got to stop doing now. Focus groups. I'm sure you all know what a focus group is. A group of people that come together. The subject matter experts, sometimes it might be different, and they share their attitudes on proposed ideas, services and products. So I'm sure we've all been in one. I'm sure we know what a focus group is by now. Focus groups, they can be loosely structured. They're good for sharing information. They can be moderated. Could include qualitative research. It really depends what you want to include in there. Some of the focus groups I've been involved with in the past have been primarily to do with mobile app launches. So some of them have been, like games. So they might launch it to a small beta crew, alpha crew of testers. You can definitely jump in there. It's definitely cool to learn how these things work, and they look at your feedback. And this feedback informs the product decisions going into the future. Questionnaires and surveys. I'm sure you all know what this is. I have been part of so many organizational surveys. Now think about it. In some of the organizations I've worked at, Amazon, LinkedIn, Facebook, we've got hundreds of thousands of employees. And we need to have a mechanism, an approach that helps us really gather the data in the most concise and the most efficient, effective way possible. But if you're sitting there, asking one by one what the data is, what the questions are, it's going to be impossible to collect. So you need to have a fast way of doing it. So surveys has been one of those things that we've used to measure many, many things in an organization. It can be health checks, the evolution of project management offices, the evolution of people's, of the organization's skill sets, attributes, culture. It can be anything. So use surveys and questionnaires very wisely. It's an important tool and technique to help you gather data from the employees. Questionnaires and surveys, often used for data gathering techniques, varied audiences, quick turnaround. You can use, Excel to analyze the data, Power BI to making some really cool dashboards. I've been part of some really amazing projects whereby data has been collected, and sales data primarily, and it's been chucked into these amazing, amazing dashboards in Power BI. So yeah, you wouldn't be learning that in a PMP course of anyone else, but I'm telling you right now, within Project Management Professional Certification, you want to produce really cool dashboards that convey information to your stakeholders in a concise way. Trust me, everyone will love you for it, but just don't go overboard. Benchmarking. Now, benchmarking is really, really important. Now, it gives you the comparison. Now, hold on a minute. Let me get me some water here before I choke. Benchmarking. Comparison of actual or planned products, processes, and practices of one company against another company. So I've been part of, again, many companies in the past whereby you say, right, we think we're good at this, and there's another company that you're good at this. Well, let's send a team in, and let's do a benchmarking visit. It's actually very cool. It's actually, you can learn a lot of stuff, and it helps you gain knowledge, gain insights, open perspectives that you never had before. And it provides a basis for measuring performance and a baseline for you to improve on. And it's just the exchange of information. Now, couple of things when you benchmark. Check the confidentiality of the company you are. Is it appropriate? What are some of the NDAs that you need to respect? So there's a whole bunch. Now, I have been part of it, and companies do it. So I'm not saying to you don't do it. I'm saying go and do it. But just make sure that you respect the confidentiality and you don't reveal anything that could get anyone in trouble. That's it. Benchmarking evaluates, compares businesses or project practices, identifies best practices in order to meet and exceed them. As I clearly said, within Dubai, being here, I've been part of some fantastic benchmarking visits. Some of the best reputable organizations within Dubai, really pushing and striving the way when it comes to exceeding and, just being the best of the best. So this is good. This is continuous improvement. This is relentless improvement. It's in a stage where we've never been before, and it's really, really good. So I encourage this. Interviews. It's a good way to gather, requirements. Primarily the most used technique. You sit down with 1 or 2, 3 stakeholders, ask them a bunch of questions. What do you want? And you get their requirements. It's formal, informal approach, and you can talk to them directly. So we all know what an interview is. And helps you identify stakeholders. Make sure you know which stakeholders to talk to. If you don't know who to talk to, then you're really kind of stuffed here. And decipher what the project's deliverables are. You can also use some group decision making, autocratic decision making. One team member makes the decision for the group. I don't think the team would like that, especially in today's hybrid, agile ways of working. So you might want to go for voting or multi-criteria decision analysis. It might be a little bit more fair in this. But I'll let you guys judge what's best in your organization. Types of voting. I'm not going to go through this. You can read the description here. Everyone agrees on a single course of action. Majority, decision reached from 50%. Decision reached from the largest block in the group. Agile, thumbs up or thumbs down. It's very simple as that. Vote to whichever way you want. Just get a consensus. The major thing here is, guys, that when you're voting, make sure the team agrees. If the team doesn't agree, then you don't really have the commitment of the team. And if that's the case, then your project's doomed from the very beginning. So don't let that happen. Data representation. You want to use mind mapping tools, affinity diagrams, grouping, related ideas together. I've used mind mapping extensively in my career. It's helped me gain and categorize information, including affinity diagrams. We do this all the time. You do it sometimes without even knowing what the names are or what you're doing. Observations, guys, do we really need to go through this? It's to gain knowledge just by looking at something, observing people, and just looking at how they work in the environment. Facilitated workshops. Now, guys, these are very, very important because workshops are one of the techniques that are really popular now. So rather than conducting a meeting, you do a workshop whereby you facilitate people through the journey of learning something or getting an output or deliverable. Some people call them working sessions. Some people call them facilitated workshops. They're all the same thing. Major thing is to get a group of people together, agree on a task to be solved, work on it in a facilitated way, and get a deliverable and output at the end. Context diagrams, visual depiction of a product scope, showing a business system, process equipment, computer systems, and how people and other systems interact with it. Says what it says in the text, and you can see an example here. So just showing you all the different entities and how the other entities are requesting and responding to data. Storyboarding, a fantastic technique and very definitely an agile way of working. And this helps to visualize images, illustrate the process, or represent a project outcome. We use storyboarding all the time. Your UX, UI teams will definitely be using it. In fact, if you're working in film crews, you're using storyboarding as well. In most industries, you are. Prototyping, coming up with a V1, an MVP of a product, and get it to the market quickly so you can test the responses and get some early feedback. Requirements documentation, deliverables, what the business case is, high-level details, requirements that need to be met, could be unambiguous, measurable, testable, traceable, very important if it's not traceable. Format, now guys, it can be, now I've seen varying formats over the years. But the major thing is, Make sure your format is clear and concise. So when you go back to the document, you know exactly what it is, what it means. I've been part of many requirements documentations whereby I go back to the original document and I cannot understand what on earth we were trying to get. And these things cause issues, because if you can't read it, then who do you else expect is going to be able to read it? They won't. It's going to cause a lot of issues. Types of requirements. Now guys, there are a number of areas where you can get requirements from. Business, stakeholders, transitioning the product or service into the live environment, the quality, project, solutions. There's a whole bunch of stuff in here. The major thing to understand is make sure you know which areas that you're going to go into to get the requirements. If you're unable to decipher that, if you're unable to understand that, then you might only be able to gather 10 or 20% of those requirements, which might not be even the right thing for you to do. So don't miss this out. Make sure you are aware of this. I'm pushing awareness more than anything to make you better project managers. Non-functional requirements, these are good old friends. That can be security, stuff like that. How and when is the service available? Availability, uptime, downtime, capacity. Do we need to throttle some stuff? Continuity. If something bad happens, do we have a backup? A fail-safe, a failover. Security. How well is it strong on firewall testing, penetration testing? There's a whole bunch of stuff in there. That's mostly IT related. Think about, construction, earthquakes, tsunamis, all that stuff. Requirements management plan. Now this can sometimes be confused. The requirements management plan is a plan that helps you understand how you're going to manage the requirements gathering process. How you're going to gather the requirements, how you're going to analyze them, how you're going to document them, how you're going to manage them. So it's slightly different from the other ones. And it helps you plan, track, and sometimes it's a good idea also to version control your requirements. So version 1 of the requirements was X, Y, and Z. You know what the next update was, and you clearly show it. One of the good techniques I've seen over the years is that when it comes to requirements documents being versioned, color code it. It makes it so easy. So color code your versioning. Makes it very easy to understand, and you can see at a very snap, right, this is the new ones, this is the old ones, because when you do the insert, sometimes it's not that clear. And as a project manager, you don't have time to be reading that much. You need to be communicating, executing, keeping tracking of stuff. So make sure you're able to track this correctly. Traceability matrix, this is a very, very important thing. It tracks where the requirements are from their origin to the deliverable that satisfies them. So a really, really important definition, and you can see it here, the requirements traceability matrix. Requirement, the description, the needs and opportunities, the objective, the WBS deliverable, product design, product development. This is an example that you can use, but extremely, extremely important. Collecting the project requirements and guidelines, make sure you review it. Make sure you review the project plan, the management plan, stakeholder engagement plan, project charter, stakeholder register, and use tools and techniques such as interviews, focus groups, and facilitated workshops. This will get you a long, long way. Project scope statement, description of the project scope, major deliverables, assumption, and the constraints. I think that's pretty clear. Project scope statement, this is a nice little template that you may decide to use. So the project name would be a good idea, the date when you did this. Project manager might be one there on the team. You might have an assistant there prepared by who the owners are. You might have a stakeholder in there. Usually it's a good idea to have a stakeholder to have a read through this document and put their signature on it. Version history, good idea to have. And also do that color coding technique. It will definitely help you. And the actual description. This links back to one of the things I was saying the other day, that when you have a project description that is nice, concise, and clear, and you can read it to yourself every night, you understand what the purpose of the project is. Because I've been in situations whereby 6 months down the line, you just forget what on earth you were even doing the project for originally. So it's a good idea to have this in place. Having it in place is better than not having it. I know some people complain here and they say it's actually a useless, boring exercise. We know what the project's all about. No, it's not. It's a very good exercise, and it helps you keep track of things, and it helps you put things into perspective. How many holidays do you go on in the year? How many things happen? Family issues, work issues, other things that cloud your judgment. You're not going to remember the exact reason why you did this project from day one. And not even your stakeholders are going to even remember why you started this project from day one. So make sure you write it down so you can always read it 6 months down the line to remind yourself why we started it in the first place. Scope tools and techniques: expert judgment, facilitation, product analysis, alternative analysis, multi-criteria analysis. Same stuff as usual. Product analysis: a tool to define scope by asking questions about the product and forming answers to describe use characteristics and other relevant aspects of the product. So again, you might be looking at competitor products. You might also look at past products that you've launched, and looking at the characteristics and other relevant aspects of the product too, so you can make informed product requirements for the future. Product breakdowns, value analysis, system analysis. These are all the different analysis techniques that you can use to get more requirements from a product analysis stage. Guidelines for developing a project scope statement. Major things is make sure you review all the plans, you have a charter in place, and the objectives link up, the OPAs are there. Use tools and techniques that we've defined in here, and other tools and techniques that you are informed of to the best of your ability, and you document everything. Extremely important that you're documenting each and every way of the stage. Now here comes one of the most important structures when it comes to the PMP. Work breakdown structure. Now guys, I remember when I first saw this many years ago. It changed my life. It actually helps you really categorize accounts, code of conduct, accounts, the deliverables, the activities clearly. It's a hierarchical decomposition of a project's total scope of work to accomplish project objectives and create the required deliverables. And here's an example. At the top you can see the project name. You can see here what the different deliverables are, and at the bottom what the different work packages are that we are trying to deliver. It's a phenomenal way to categorize and capture and distribute where each activity is and what the deliverables are. Phenomenal tool, phenomenal technique, and if you're in the classroom with me, we actually do the exercise. And how good is that? So you can actually practice doing a work breakdown structure. Really cool technique, and I encourage everyone to use this in their projects, as it will not let you down. Code of accounts, which was something at the top here, 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, numbering system that uniquely identifies each component of the WBS. WBS dictionary. Sometimes you might not have enough space to write the details here, so you want to write it in a WBS dictionary. And you can see an example here, work packages, and you can see here that the WBS dictionary can include further details, descriptions, costings even, who's responsible, acceptance criteria, technical information, all that good jazz. Decomposition, a key phrase. Why? Because in WBS we are decomposing, technique of dividing and subdividing the project scope and deliverables into smaller, more manageable parts. And you can see the example here, value management system, needs assessment, standards development, and you can see in here how they've managed to do 1.11, 1.1111. It's a decomposition. You're just further breaking down the work so you understand what the next level is. Control accounts, work and planning packages. Let's explore the units of work in a project. Control account is a management, it's basically a financial thing where you budget the cost for the entire deliverable. And they're compared, and you can use this for costings for later on, which we'll discuss. Planning package, WBS component below the control account with a known work content but without detailed scheduled activities, which comes below. And the work package work defined at the lowest level, which is duration, estimated, and is managed. This is the thing that you actually estimate with your team. Planning work using the WBS, and you can see here project name, control account A, planning package A, and work package. So you just slowly go down. And the lowest level is a work package with the unique identifier contains details, costs, schedule, and information. And it's a really cool way to decipher your projects, decompose them, and really categorize them and manage and track them going forward. Scope baseline, one of the three major baselines within the PMP, approved version of the scope statement WBS and its associated WBS dictionary that can be changed using the formal change control procedures and is used as the basis for comparison to actual results. So a phenomenal thing that you want to use, and you want to use the scope baseline as much as possible. What does it include? Scope statement, WBS, work packages, planning package, and the WBS dictionary. Creating the WBS, work with your team, review the scope statement, use the management plan, the requirements documentation, look at your organizational process assets, the EEFs, apply some expert judgment, work within the team, and create the scope baseline. Product and iteration backlogs, this is more of the agile look. So instead of creating the WBS, you might create a product backlog. Same thing, deliverables, but it's broken down into features and user stories. So before we had work packages, now we have features and user stories. Product backlog is a slightly bigger backlog, which contains all the deliverables for a product. Iteration backlog is a smaller subset of the product backlog, which contains a subset of the information and the deliverables that the team can deliver on a weekly or a bi-weekly basis. User stories, which is another agile term, and it's a short description in a user-centric format from the user's point of view. It's a user-centric thing that says, as a customer, I want this, so I can receive this benefit. And it's very similar to the WBS, but it's just a slightly more of an agile spin on this. And it helps on teams focusing the value that the user can get first. And it suggests who will benefit from the work and how. User story points. So you can see here the user stories are broken down, and they can be contained within a feature, and you can have tasks within there. And these iteration plans can be sitting within a release plan, and this release plan will be linked to a release 1, release 2, release 3. So it's definitely a cool way. WBS is slightly different, but this format is also different, but they actually have a very clear linkage. Tools and techniques for verifying scope, definition of done, definition of ready, acceptance criteria. These are very much agile ways, but also you can use variance analysis and trend analysis, which are your traditional PMP ways. And that's it. That's what I wanted to discuss today. I know that was a slightly longer lecture there, but we've covered a lot on scope. Your WBS, the agile tools and techniques when it comes to analyzing scope, features, user stories, the scope baseline, the WBS dictionary, a product statement, a project scope statement, a whole bunch of stuff there to help you understand and really control your projects to the nth degree. So the PMP has got scope management tied to a T. So guys, thank you for watching. Leave a comment down below if you're enjoying the video series. Leave a thumbs up, leave a comment down below. Subscribe to the channel, share with your friends. I really appreciate that. And that's it. Until next time, thanks for watching, and take care.